Welcome back to People Analytics. I'm your host, Lindsay Patton. Today I have with me Michelle French, who is the Human Resources Director at NASCENT. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So before we get into our conversation, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure. My name is Michelle French. I am the HR Director for NASCENT Technology. I do it because I love people and I want everybody to come to work and feel like they're having, just a great day and they're happy about their day and, sending them home with a smile on their face. So that's really why I do it, just to kind of keep everything going in the positive direction.
Yeah, you describe yourself as not the typical HR person. Can you tell me a little bit about what makes you different?
Sure. I feel like I really just take people for who they are and understand that everybody is a human. Really try to hold space for everyone, no matter what it is that they're feeling that day. I don't, there's always rules and regulations to follow, of course, but it's, I think it's more of a holistic experience. And I think that allows just for a more streamlined day for everyone. I think what we've learned from the past 2 years of, dealing with the pandemic, that your personal life and your work life, they do intertwine, and there's nothing that anybody can do about that. So I think really making everything comfortable for everybody and giving them that space is really what makes an employee happy.
Yeah. So what really stood out is you're the first person that I've talked to that has described the HR world as a holistic experience. So I really want to kind of dig into that a little bit and have you describe that, because I really like that mindset.
Sure, absolutely. It actually started with myself doing a lot of personal development work. Again, going into the pandemic, we all kind of had a different mindset.
Yeah.
Although, I did feel like there was a lot of things that I needed to personally change about myself. And I think one of the biggest things was just really looking into myself and realizing how I wanted to be, and being very stuck in a way, or not allowing people to feel the way they feel and just trying to follow all these rules and regulations just really wasn't working for me, and it wasn't working for the employee either. So I came to a point where I was like, I either have to work on myself and get my head right, or I'm going to have to leave HR. So I started working on myself and really getting, my mind straight and my mind right, and stepping back and looking at everybody from a different lens, and looking at their experiences from a different lens. And it just really turned everything around. I had employees coming and they're like, have you been doing something different? Like, what is going on? I was just a lot more calm and relaxed. I mean, I do have my moments when I get a little stressed out or whatever, but for the most part, I just try to, I want to try. You're an adult, we hired you for a reason, and, it's about trust and trusting the person, that the people that we're working with, and just truly really understanding, being more sensitive to everybody in their situations, and asking questions and being that open door for them. And it's really worked out really, really well here for us doing it that way.
Thank you so much for sharing that story about yourself. I talk to so many people professionals that encourage, the people that they work with to take time to figure out what they really want to do, but who is telling the HR people to take time and figure out, who you want to be, what you want to do. So how did you really get to that point where did you have kind of someone else encourage you, or did you kind of prompt it on yourself, being like, okay, well, we're all inside. I have some extra time now.
Right. It was a lot of just personal work that I knew had to be done, without getting too woo-woo. A lot of the inner child work that had to happen. I'm from Boston. My dad's retired from the military. He's just very, kind of D-type personality. And so living with that and growing up with that just, really kind of molded who I was becoming.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of stress and anxiety and just being kind of like always on defense all the time. And just taking everything so personally. And so I had a particular situation at the office, and it triggered me in such a way that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't continue this way. It's just not healthy. It's not healthy personally. It's not healthy professionally. So one of my girlfriends was really in that the holistic self-work growth space. And so I started speaking with her, and then I just started going to different events, and again, not to sound too woo-woo, but like sound bath and breath work, and really just trying to step back and kind of work on myself so that I could be there for the employees in a different way. And it just, after, doing a couple of things and coming in, I was just able to hold my space differently and show up with a different kind of energy that was more relaxed. I just like with dogs, right? They know if you're stressed out or anxious, and then they start acting a certain way. So if you can come in with a more calm presence and, just be like that, not letting, again, there's rules and regulations, so not letting people just do whatever they want, but just come in with that cool and calm presence. I think it really just helps people, to function better in their day-to-day, and myself.
Yeah. So how has, having that more laid back environment been a benefit to you and a benefit to those that you work with?
Yeah. So for one, I'm not like, my skin's not crawling every day, all day long. So I just, you realize you're not going to make everybody happy, right? No matter what you do, you could have a big spread of fruit every single morning, fresh fruit, and a massage therapist, massaging everyone. And, so there's still going to be somebody that is not happy or whatever. Once you realize that, and really just start to kind of live in the moment and see everything for what it is, and have that empathy and that understanding, right? So once you do that, it just makes just everybody life a better place. And so it really has changed a lot here at our company. People are just more like flowing. It's such a great environment. The vibe is like really high here.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. And it's just changed. It's been a 360. Since I started here, we've just done such a 360, and it's really a super cool environment. And that helps me to, sell the company, if you will, when I'm recruiting employees, because I think that they can feel my energy through the phone, or when we're talking, that they know that this is just it's a good place.
Yeah. And I know it's important to you too, that people at the organization have a cool place to work. So what does a cool place look like to you?
So it's great that you just asked that. We're actually coming up on our quarterly town hall, and we do a different theme each one. So in addition to the company meeting about, how we did the quarter prior, we do a different themed event. So this coming one up, we're doing a field day. So we have, I'm looking up here, we have our potato sacks, and, we're going to do like an egg chase or whatever on the spoon, and cornhole. And our team is like ultra competitive. So they really, really get into this stuff. We also do a fitness challenge. We have a gym on site, but we do the fitness challenge because we do have remote workers as well. And so it's like a step challenge. And I like the names the teams come up with, deaf man walking for the developers. It's they really, really get into it, which is awesome, right? Because they're stepping into this like health and wellness space as well, in a really fun way. Another thing that we're going to be having, we're going to be doing karaoke night here.
Oh my gosh.
And we could probably start a company band, because we have drummers and singers and guitarists and all of that. So we have a big white screen in our warehouse, and we can do it through YouTube and have the microphone. So we're going to do karaoke nights. That's super exciting. And another event, we're going to have a wiffle ball tournament. So we've had axe throwing in a Halloween contest on a Halloween town hall. We've done Dunk the Executive last summer, and sold tickets to the employees to have the chance to dunk the executive. And then we donated whatever we sold, plus we matched it to the Charlotte, I'm drawing a blank here. Oh my gosh. The Special Olympics of Charlotte. And we had some Special Olympic athletes here. And so that was like super exciting. So we just do a lot of really fun things. We also include the employees that are remote. So we had like an employee appreciation day. We had pizza, and then we did have a chair massage come here and do 10-minute massages for everybody. But for those who were home and remote and weren't here, we had like little personal sized pan pizzas sent to them if they wanted it. So we tried to include them as much as we can. And every year we have an annual party and we bring those employees in too. So
yeah. And it's interesting that, you mentioned inner child work earlier, because I see a lot of the activities really tap into that childhood joy. And I feel like, that is something that a lot of people are seeking. And I think it's very, pandemic prompted, where people want to really get back to what they loved as a child. And so I see a lot of that in the activities that you described.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody loves it, right? Who doesn't want to go out and do a potato sack race, or do some cornhole, or, dunk the executive, or throw some axes, it's a lot of fun. And again, our employees are like ultra competitive. So it really it gets them up off the desk and out into the backyard. We have a very big backyard out there, and we're just able to have these like really, really fun events. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And, you mentioned you're not always going to make everyone happy, but it sounds like you do know your audience. So how do you really work to understand, the audience that you are serving?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you probably can tell I talk all the time. So I'm always talking to everyone. Always, we walk around, even the remote people, we'll call them on the Teams and chat with them. I think just from the jump, really, to have that great employee experience from that moment, we originally reach out to them when we're recruiting, all the way through. We're just like very open, honest, transparent, and just, welcoming them with open arms and asking for feedback all the time. Hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? What would you like to see? Always open to what other people and ideas that they have. So that's really how we do it. We just stay on and keep chatting and figure out what people want and like and enjoy.
Yeah. And so, let's get into the being okay with not making everyone happy, because I feel like there's a lot of people, including myself, that have either worked on this or need to work on this. What helped you work on that for yourself?
Well, it is kind of always a work in progress. I can't lie. When I get the, climate surveys back, I might be like, what do you mean? And then I'm like,
right.
I have to just, so it's like kind of gearing up, you know what I mean? But I know this about myself, so I'm able to manage it better.
Yeah.
And it's just really understanding, and it's okay. I'm always, I might feel a little twinge here and there, but it's like, okay, it's going to be okay. And then I do ask if someone, I'm like, hey, how's it going today? Whatever. And they're like, and I'm like, well, what's going on? What can we do? What do you feel, what's happening today? Maybe it is something at home. I just had that situation, and it was someone was just having really bad allergies that day and didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, so it's always a work in progress for everybody, I think, right? It's not just work. It's just, part of life. And so I think everyone's always trying to work, because initially you might be like, oh, what's happening? What's going on? But 9 times out of 10, it has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So, it's just really just being mindful of that fact. So.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, understanding that each person, they have different stuff going on. So, there's this very common trend in the workplace of pretending that what's going on at home is not affecting you at work. But, when you're dealing with grief or chronic illness or, having to manage kids. That's something that many people have to do. So that creeps in. There's no stopping that from creeping in. So how do you, as someone trying to toe the line of respecting employees' personal lives, but also supporting them, how do you offer that support?
Sure. When we've had situations where, we've spoken with some people, what we really try to instill, and all of the managers are on board with this as well, is like, hey, if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling like whatever it is you're feeling, right? Something's going on in your life. It's your children, it's your spouse, your significant other, whoever, or whatever. It's just not a good day for you. We encourage them, look, send the text to to your manager and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to make the stand up today, or I might just start a little bit later today, or whatever. We are just so super flexible about that. We have the unlimited PTO, which we started this past year. And I know for a lot of companies, that's kind of a loaded term, and employees are like, yeah, that just means that you can't, that you're just going to deny my PTO all the time. So when I'm actually recruiting people, I say, look, we have that, but I'll tell you, we require everybody to take a minimum of 20 days. Oh, wow. And I run reports every quarter and give them to the managers and say, this person needs to take some time off. This person needs to
tattletale. I love it.
Time off. That's what it's for. And I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I'm like, you don't have to go on a week-long vacation. Just take a day, walk around the mall, or do some yard work, or just do nothing and watch Netflix all day. I don't know, but you've got to take some time off. So we're really, we really stress that with our employees about taking time off, and not just the employees, but our leadership team as well. Sometimes I'm like, I'm calling your wife and having her hold your phone while you're on PTO because you don't need to be answering emails. I'm like, all right, I know you're in a leadership role. How about we make a deal? Look at them in the morning and look at them at the evening, but don't do anything in between. I don't want to see any emails from you coming through. So it's really just trying to make sure that everybody is just getting that time they need, because you may not think you need time, but you really do. And I've had people say like, oh, thank God I took the time. It really made a difference. So.
Yeah. And something you said about, I'm going to need 15 minutes, to show up to this meeting or to be late to this meeting. Like, I just think about how much of our lives, there's anxiety surrounding showing up on time or being ready on time, when that's not always feasible, when there's a mental health crisis in this country, for example. I just thought of all the employees in your organization not having that anxiety. That's a lot. That's a big lift off their shoulders.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But having accountability as well, right? And this is where the trust comes in. You are an adult. If you are feeling some kind of way, message your manager. Just don't not show up. Just send a text. It takes a second to send a text. Just send the text and, let them know, hey, I'm just going to need a little bit of time this morning. Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. We understand. We get it. I think a lot of it does have to do with, that trust factor. And the trust goes both ways with the employee and the manager and the employee. So.
Yeah. And I know accountability is really big for you, and important for you to enforce and, lead by example and, make sure that everyone is taking care of their stuff. So can you go on about, why accountability is important?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I like to use the gym example that I give all the time. So I've been working out for forever, my whole life. And even I need somebody to check my form and make sure that it's okay. My feet might be doing squats, might be out a little bit further than they need to be, or, my feet are turned a certain way. But because I've been doing it for so long, I don't realize that there's just a small little tweak. So if I have someone who's, behind me and watching and looking at my form, they can help fix it. Doesn't mean that I'm wrong or I'm doing something bad. It just means that I've been doing it for so long. I just need that little extra correction. And so that's what I like to explain to the employees, when your manager is maybe saying, hey, did you think about it this way or whatever? It's because you've been doing it for so long, you might not even realize that you've kind of missed a step, or, something is off a little bit. So they're coaching you, right? It's about being coached versus being, the way everybody used to think, if your manager speaks with you, you're in trouble, whatever that might be. So it's really about getting into a different mindset, and it's about coaching. And in fact, I think everybody should want that, right? So I'm always setting up one-on-ones with my manager, just because I need to be coached as well, right? And I want to see, is there something that I could be doing better, or whatever that I'm not seeing because I'm doing it all the time. A really great example, I've had this conversation with someone already. My son, who is doing an internship here, at my office, was doing a lot of repetitive work, and he didn't even hear me say this. And he came into my office and said, I just need to take a 10-minute break because I've been doing it for so long now, for so many hours. I feel like I'm going to skip a step. Yeah. Because it's just become so repetitive. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally just had a conversation with somebody and said that, so it's really about, having that accountability, owning you and understanding yourself too, that, we're all not perfect and we're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. And it's okay when your manager, helps to coach you. And that's why one-on-ones are very important here at our company. And we are very, very religious to those. Our managers have them every other week for 30 minutes with the employee. And they're actually just a wonderful place for, the coaching to go on, that interpersonal communication. Hey, what's going on at home? How are things going? Or what's going on in your life? Is there, whatever it is. And just really making that, that relationship, that trust factor.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, the word accountability, it can be a harsh word. It can be an intimidating word because it's not associated with coaching as much as it is associated with getting yelled at, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with that. I think now from, different coaches that I watch, personal development coaches, any kind of coach, weight loss coaches, it is about accountability, right? Because otherwise we'd all just be perfect walking around if we were accountable to something. So I think it's about kind of reframing the way you think about the word, and reframing how things are being handled. And again, it's a lot of personal work, right? Personal development work. And a lot of us who have been in the workplace for a long time had to get out of that mindset. Because I used to be there too. I used to be like, oh, work all the time, work all the time, work all the time, work all the time. Like, no, the stuff is still going to be there tomorrow,
Yeah.
A brain surgeon or, whatever, and you have to do that job, all night because the surgery is long. You need to go home and shut down and be with your family, be with your friends, be with yourself, get that rest that you need so that you could do an awesome job the next day. Yeah. So, that, and again, we're really working with that. We have a very flexible policy here as far as, working from home. If you're able to do your job entirely from home, you are welcome to do that. We have employees though, who are our developers, and they come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those that are local, just to get that camaraderie, go out to lunch. They all go to lunch together. And then for the employees who have to be here because their job is here in the office, they can't do it from home. What we've done for them is allowed them to have a 4-day work week. So they get 1 day off. So they have like a 3-day weekend essentially. Nice. So that they can kind of enjoy that flexibility as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the stuff you can do with an extra day.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Not coming down. I mean, it really makes a huge difference. And it really, it makes them feel that they're a part of the flexible kind of policy as well.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss when talking about work from home and the pandemic's impact, is that there are a lot of deskless workers that need to be in person. Right. And so where are their perks?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that's why we implemented that. And it actually is working out really well. Everyone seems to be far more productive too, because, they're here for the 4 days, they're getting it done. And then they know they have that day off to do whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Michelle, this has been just a fantastic conversation with you. I really appreciate you telling me about, your personal journey and, how you've gotten to the place you're at now. It's very inspiring, and I hope our audience is inspired as well. But before we part, is there anything that you would like to add or think that I missed?
No, I think we covered everything really well. And I just want to thank you so much for having me on. And it's just like, I'm so super passionate about HR and HR in that holistic way, and just really being there and truly being there for those employees. So I'm glad I was able to share that with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle French. So that's probably the best way.
Awesome. Well, if you or anyone you know is like Michelle and wants to support employees, email me, lindsay@staffgeek.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to Staff Geek's People Analytics Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Patton, and I'm always looking to interview leaders who put people first. If you or someone you know lead with a people-first mindset, please email me at lindsay@staffgeek.com. That's LINDSAY@staffgeek.com. If you want to take things a step deeper and understand your organization's true culture DNA, I encourage you to take Staff Geek's free culture assessment. Just head to staffgeek.com and click the button that says Free Culture Assessment. Thanks again for listening.